Hello and welcome to this edition of FYI Weekly, your official source for City of Greensboro news and information. A national search will begin in the coming weeks to replace Greensboro Police Chief Brian James, who will retire on May 31st. Chief James joined the Greensboro Police Department in 1996 and was promoted to police chief in January 2020. Greensboro City Manager Taiwo Jayoba said, "In our regular communications, Chief James demonstrates a unique passion for his job and genuine support for our police officers. His ideas and stellar leadership will be missed." Chief James developed an exceptional team of deputies who are able to continue the vision he charted for the department. Additionally, Chief James has led numerous nonprofit initiatives such as Chair of United Way's African American Leadership Cabinet, Board Chair of Malachi House, member of the Greensboro Rotary, and Vice Chair of the Guilford Child Development. Greensboro Mayor Nancy Vaughn said, "Our community has benefited from the steadfast leadership of Chief Brian James, and his departure will be an enormous loss to our city." He led the department through challenges such as the 2020 summer protests, a relentless pandemic, and record number vacancies in law enforcement. On behalf of the City Council, we thank Chief James for his dedication and years of exemplary service. Teresa Biffle will serve as interim police chief during the search process. The 27-year veteran of GPD has served as the deputy chief of the Management Bureau since 2021 when she was promoted by Chief James. An executive recruiting firm will assist with the selection process for the next police chief. The Pilot Life Insurance Company home office has been nominated for inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places. This is the country's official list of properties worthy of preservation. As part of the vetting process, the public can share input on whether the property meets the criteria for the register. The city will also host a virtual public hearing at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, April 27th, before the Historic Preservation Commission. City Council will then consider the nomination at one of its upcoming meetings prior to it being considered by the North Carolina National Register Advisory Committee in June. The last step to being listed on the National Register is approval by the National Park Service. When a property is listed in the National Register, the owner becomes eligible for historic rehabilitation income tax credits. The listing does not restrict the owner's use of private funds to maintain or alter their property. 43 individual properties and 12 historic districts in Greensboro are listed on this National Register. To share comments, contact Mike Cowig at 336-382-8353 or Stephen Lee Geary at 336-412-6300 by Friday, May 13th. Creative Greensboro has issued a request for qualifications, or RFQ, for individual artists interested in creating a mural on the highway retaining wall at Oka T. Hester Park, located in southwest Greensboro. This call for artists is open to North Carolina-based muralists. However, Greensboro-based artists will receive priority consideration. The deadline to apply is 5 p.m. on Monday, May 16th. This mural project was approved by residents in City Council District 5 through the last cycle of the city's participatory budgeting process. The artist will be selected by a stakeholder group of District 5 residents and members of the Greensboro Cultural Affairs Commission. The selected artist will receive a $30,000 contract to cover all costs related to the project. In addition to designing and installing a mural on the retaining wall facing the park, the artist will be responsible for leading a community engagement meeting. The mural is expected to be installed in early spring of 2023. For more information and instructions on how to apply, please visit the city's website. The city developed a partnership with Cone Health to share a series of brief and informative videos designed to inspire you to make better choices when it comes to healthy living. Following these tips is an easy way to help each of us improve our quality of life. Let's take a moment to check out today's news for your health.
1 in 4 Americans suffer from allergies. Don't let the things that contribute to your symptoms stop you from enjoying your activities. I am Dr. Rosalind Hicks, an allergist from Allergy and Asthma Center of North Carolina, a member of Cone Health Medical Group. Let's get started and talk about allergies. Allergies are the common cold. very similar entities. They both consist of a lot of congestion, runny nose, sneezing. Typically with the common cold, you're going to have, starting out, a little more scratchy throat, sore throat, and you often a little bit of fever. Both can have cough because of the postnasal drip, and you're going to feel a little lousy with the common cold, will run down, dehydrated, those kind of things. And then with allergies, it can be any time of year. Cold may be more common in the winter season, and allergies can be with exposure. You just mow the lawn? Did you just take care of the cat or dog? Did you just clean out the attic with lots of dust? So those are the things we think about to differentiate between a common cold and allergies. The common triggers kind of fall into two categories: indoor, outdoor, seasonal, or year-round. So in the spring, we think a lot about tree pollen, followed by grass pollen and weed pollen, and then we have dust, mite, cockroach, mold, which can be indoors and out, and then any kind of furried animal, dog, cat, gerbil, any of those. So clearly, if we're sensitive to the animals, then we shouldn't have animals, we shouldn't be exposed to them, but we can't really control completely pollen exposure. So if you go outside, if you're doing something involving that exposure, then wearing a mask if you have to mow the grass, wiping off your hands and feet, taking off your shoes before you walk through the house so you don't track the pollen through, minimizing the window being down as you ride down the road, and wiping off the cats and dogs when they come in from their walk so the pollen is not throughout the house and on the furniture, those kind of things. Well, of course, avoidance would be the biggest action that we could participate in to try to minimize symptoms, but side of that, adding medications to minimize the congestion, sneezing, runny nose. I'm a huge proponent of saline rinse, and so that's something easy that's not medicated. It's just salt water, flushing out and clearing out the nasal passages so we can take away those allergens that we've been breathing in. I think it is very important to prepare for allergy season so that you can minimize your suffering and you don't have so much congestion and headache or disrupted activity. I like to encourage people to start their medications around Valentine's Day, and usually that'll minimize their symptoms and they can go into the allergy season ahead and symptom-free. It is important for individuals to think about allergy testing if they're having lots of symptoms, uncontrolled symptoms, they've tried multiple medications, or they feel like there's one specific thing that they're really interested in knowing that they're allergic to. And especially if you have upper and lower airway symptoms, if you're coughing and wheezing, then that has become quite the standard for management to consider allergy injections. And we need to know exactly what you're allergic to be able to put in your specific vial so that we can manage you with the injections if we have the positive testing available there. And in the situation where you may be food allergic, having allergy testing can be very informative to know what to avoid. Thank you for joining us. I hope all this information has been helpful to decrease your suffering from allergies. For more information, go to conehealth.com/wellness. I'm Dr. Rosalind Hicks.
The community is invited to attend an event geared towards uplifting and recognizing people with disabilities and special needs. We'll have that story and more news coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. The City of Greensboro encourages the community to attend an event designed to uplift people with disabilities and special medical needs. UNITE is an acronym for Understanding Needs of Inclusion Takes Everyone. Unite Downtown Greensboro will take place from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday, May 1st at LeBauer Park on North Davie Street. The event will showcase the many programs provided by local nonprofits and the City of Greensboro serving special needs individuals and their families. The event will also feature games, prize giveaways, music, entertainment, and vendors. Unite Downtown Greensboro is made possible by the partnership between the Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department, Family Support Network, Downtown Greensboro Incorporated, and Greensboro Downtown Parks. Don't be alarmed if a utility company has its crew working and digging around your property. On occasion, crews need to repair broken lines, install new pipe connections, and remove damaged cables. Utility companies have a right to work on any public right-of-way and dedicated utility easements due to franchise agreements between local and state governments and the utilities. Together, these entities are working to provide everyone high-speed internet, on-demand cable, reliable cell phone service, and safe gas lines. This requires installing and maintaining service delivery components. You can't see it, but underground within your property are pipes, lines, and cables connecting these services to you and your neighbors. While you may not subscribe to each of the services or utilities, your property may contain connectors to other households nearby who do have the service or utility. Visit the engineering and inspection section of the city's website for tips on what you can expect when a utility company is working near your property. Digital artist Emilio Mars is presenting the current Grow residency at the Greensboro Cultural Center today through May 22nd. GROW stands for Greensboro Residents for Original Works. Artists at all levels will focus on skill building as they learn the medium of digital illustration art. The residency will include free open hours as well as scheduled workshops at a cost of $5 per day. Mars will offer a series of workshops that break down the process of creating digital art into specific focus areas such as figure sketching and grayscale illustration. Participants may bring a phone or tablet as well as a stylus pen for creating digital art. Participants without access to digital equipment can use paper, pencils, and pens. The Grow space is located next to the Davie Street entrance of the Greensboro Cultural Center. Creative Greensboro, the city's office for arts and culture, offers Grow as a way to produce new and original works that encourage visitation and engagement by the public. For more information and to register for a workshop, visit the city's website. There is such a thing as recycling contamination, and the problem ends up costing the city thousands of dollars. Coming up after the break, find out if your household is contributing to this contamination calamity. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. The city of Greensboro takes recycling very seriously, but there is a great need when it comes to educating our residents. Joining me now to walk us through the risks associated with improper recycling is Macy DeMoss. She is the Recycling and Waste Reduction Educator with the Field Operations Department. Hello, Macy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming in. Tell us about recycling contamination, what it is, and why is this such a problem?
Yeah, so recycling contamination is anytime recycling or non-recyclable materials get put into the recycling bin. So this is a problem for a variety of reasons because number one, they can hurt other recyclables like good recyclables. For example, if you put a bag of shredded paper into your recycling, it can go all over the place in the recycling center, get all over the good recyclables, and then cause a bunch of good recycling to be thrown away.
Yeah.
It's also just time consuming for us to try to get rid of all of these contaminants.
Okay, so you're not necessarily talking about food containers with food still in them.
Yeah.
That's a contamination.
That's a contamination.
Okay.
So, and that's more, with things like that, that's more about the people that work in the recycling center.
Okay.
So there are people that work in the recycling center that are picking through the items. We tell people if you don't want to touch it or smell it after 2 weeks, don't put it in your recycling because it's going to be really gross. And there are people working there.
Yes.
But another reason that we don't want contamination in there is because it's just taking a longer trip to go to the landfill. So when, for example, contamination, one big contamination issue is bagged recycling.
Yes.
So people putting their recyclables in a bag. So if somebody puts bagged recyclables in their recycling can, it goes to the recycling center, and then it ends up taking a longer journey to go to the landfill. So it's wasting resources, you know, gas, traveling, but.
Okay, so in this vein, there's only one of you, so volunteers are really important to help to identify some of these violations of sorts. So tell us about those opportunities.
Yeah, so we're doing a tagging program right now in areas of concern where there's high contamination. In the city of Greensboro, we have a 36% contamination rate for recycling. And that means that over 1/3 of the stuff that people are putting in their recycling containers are not supposed to be there.
Okay.
So we are riding around in places where there's higher contamination, looking in the bins, and then leaving stickers, tags on people's recycling carts.
Okay.
But there's only one full-time person that does that for us, so we need more people to come and help us. We're riding around twice a week from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., tagging recycling carts, looking in there, judging people's recycling, and then eventually we send them a postcard just to let them know, like, hey, what you're doing is not correct. We try to be nice about it,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
because
So
a lot of
there's no
people just don't
fine.
know.
Will you eventually be fined? Will they take away your can? What happens if you continue being a violator?
Yeah, so if you get 4 violations within a certain period, we do take the can away, but there's no monetary fine.
Okay, good to know.
But we're really just trying to meet people where they are.
Yes.
You know, some people, people are busy, you know, and there's a lot of recycling rules, and we want to let people know in their homes or at their recycling carts where it's actually happening. Tell them, you know, this is the way you do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you have someone watching and they say, I'd like to help you and I want to be a volunteer, how does that happen?
So they can sign up by emailing us at gogreen@greensboro-nc.gov, and then we'll give them more information, see if they want to do it, and then they can sign up that way.
Okay, perfect. Now, Recycle Rodeo is a big deal, and that's coming up. Tell us when, and what does that event involve?
Okay, so the Recycle Rodeo is a really cool event where you can recycle a ton of difficult to recycle or harder to recycle items that you can't put in your normal recycling bin.
Okay.
So it is going to be on May 7th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Mount Zion Baptist Church. And we're going to be taking all types of things: styrofoam you can recycle, glass, HHW, which is household hazardous waste. That includes batteries, motor oil, aerosol cans, all types of hazardous items like pesticides, chemicals. You can bring those. And then electronics, you can bring those. Paints, oils, like I said, all hard to recycle items.
Things.
Yeah, all the things.
Okay. Now, why is it important that those items not end up in the landfill?
So there are a variety of reasons, just depending on what it is. Some items we just want to have another life, right? We want the styrofoam to be recycled into something new. Other items, like the hazardous waste, they're hazardous in their name, you know. So we don't want those to go into the landfill and possibly leach chemicals into the groundwater, into the soil. We want them to be disposed of the correct way.
Right.
And then like the aerosol cans, it's kind of both. Aerosol cans are a popping hazard. They can harm people at the recycling center. And once they're properly like punctured, they get recycled into something new. Yeah.
Good to know, good to know. Well, when in doubt, put it in your trash can, and that way you're not contaminating the recycling bin.
Yes, exactly. We say when in doubt, throw it out.
Okay, I'm glad I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Macy, for telling us about contamination, how to avoid it, why we should not be contributing to it. And we're looking forward to the Recycling Rodeo. Thank you for that update and preview. And do come back and let us know how we can continue to support your efforts on recycling.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned for some useful information about Greensboro as we tell you something about the city. That's coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. One way to stay informed about decisions that impact you and our city is by attending or tuning in to City Council meetings at 5:30 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of the month. The fourth Tuesday is reserved for a meeting as needed. The City Council has resumed meeting in the Katie Dorsett Council Chamber on Level 2 of the Melvin Municipal Office Building located at 300 West Washington Street. The public is allowed in person, but only in a limited capacity. Those who choose not to be in the building can participate virtually. The Greensboro City Council meetings are broadcast right here on GTN. The meetings are also streamed live on the city's website and on Roku. To review the council meeting schedule and agendas, please visit the city's website. Here's an opportunity to learn a little something about the city. As you drive around town, it's easy to see we're in election season. The city is reminding everyone about the rules for posting temporary campaign signs in Greensboro. The rules are intended to ensure safety. If signs obstruct the view of a pedestrian or motorist from seeing a road or intersection, it's considered a safety hazard. Temporary campaign signs are not allowed in any public right-of-way. Also, campaign signs should not be attached to utility poles, bus shelters, trees, or other permanent structures. Never attach balloons, streamers, or lights to any temporary campaign sign. Make sure you know the size requirements for signs displayed in residential versus non-residential areas, and owners of private property must grant permission for campaign signs to be placed on their property. All temporary campaign signs must be removed within 7 days after the election associated with the sign. For more information, visit the zoning section of the Planning Department's website. Coming up after the break, we'll showcase our department spotlight, but first, let's meet our neighbors who boomeranged back to Greensboro.
My name's Ryan Deal. I work for the City of Greensboro, leading the Office of Arts and Culture, Creative Greensboro. So we chose a house in New Irving Park for a few reasons. The lot sizes are really great. We have several dogs, 3 to be exact, and so it was important to us that we had a nice big backyard. This one happened to be fenced in. Almost anywhere that you select in Greensboro, we found we could be most anywhere within 10 to 15 minutes. And so the convenience factor was there for us, but the size home and the size lot, and the neighborhood is super walkable. We love getting out and walking around from neighborhood to neighborhood in the early evenings especially.
My name's Alejandra Thompson, and I work at Thompson Traders. So I moved back from New York City, and I didn't intentionally move back at first. I moved back during the pandemic in March of 2020. And then once I got here and I saw how great life was, I decided to stay. I love so many things about New Irving Park, my new neighborhood. The best one is that I have family nearby. Both of my brothers and their wives and their children live within 5 minutes walking. But I also love how many young families and young children there are in general. What I also love about Greensboro is it's kind of this balance between a big city and a small town. You have accessibility to everything like airports and restaurants and art and shopping, but it still feels small. There's not a lot of traffic, it's not crowded, so you get this beautiful balanced life.
So Alejandra, I came back to Greensboro to lead this Office for Arts and Culture for Greensboro. What's your favorite part about arts and culture or the creative community in Greensboro?
I grew up studying ballet at the Greensboro Ballet, so it goes way, way back for me. So I think we have incredible institutions here for art. I think there's a lot of experimentation in Greensboro that people don't know about, and I'm excited to be here and get to discover it.
A thing I love about Greensboro is like all of the things that you would expect to find in a big city. My experience is that you can find them in Greensboro. So there's a great symphony, there's great theater, there's great dance. One of my favorite things in my work has been connecting with and exploring all the amazing artists, like the creative individuals that make this such a dynamic place.
Welcome back. The City of Greensboro has more than 20 departments and several divisions committed to serving you, our residents and visitors. Let's go behind the scenes in our department spotlight. The Human Rights Department is hosting a luncheon on Wednesday, April 27th to recognize National Fair Housing Month. This event is designed to address community concerns about the lack of affordable housing, how it sometimes leads to discriminatory treatment, and how everyone can play a part in providing solutions. The luncheon will take place from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the Revolution Mill Event Center on Revolution Mill Drive. The event is free, but registration is required to attend. The luncheon will include a panel discussion, which will broadcast live right here on GTN and on the city's YouTube channel. Afterwards, attendees will participate in guided conversations at their tables. The Poetry Project will also perform original pieces related to fair housing. For more information or to register for the luncheon, please email Jody Stanley in the Human Rights Department. Straight ahead on the other side of the break is this week's Way to Go GSO shout out. Stay with us. As we draw to a close, we always want to end on a positive note with our Way to Go GSO shout out. This week's shout out goes to Guilford Metro 911. The agency's executive director, Melanie Neal, has been elected to NENA, the National Emergency Number Association Board of Directors. In this post, she will help lead the association's mission to improve the development of 911 standards, training, leadership, outreach, and advocacy. Neal will become first vice president in 2023 and then association president in 2024. Active on both the local and national levels, Neal is a current member of the state's 911 board and is a past president of the North Carolina Association of Public Safety Communications Officials. In June, Neal will be sworn in at the annual NENA Conference and Expo in Louisville, Kentucky. That concludes this edition of FYI Weekly, but you can easily stay connected to the latest city news by linking to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Alexa users can subscribe to our 5-minute flash briefings, which airs on 90.1 FM and 100.7 FM. Be sure to download our weekly podcast, Talk City Greensboro, and now GTN is streaming on Roku. For all of us here at the City of Greensboro, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.